Interesting market we had in here today. Some names that were kind of trading outside their own sector, things that were just kind of one-offs here and there, especially AMD, where you had Micron, SanDisk, NVIDIA, all green, and then AMD just kind of did its own thing, right? You had that awesome glitch in Tesla in here today. So congrats to all the bulls who just got in there and literally just bought calls right before they announced that news in here about the cabs. And then immediately everything just sold off. So interesting market action overall, but the good thing that happened in here today is that our overall volatility correlation with in regards to the indexes, the major indexes in here actually started to normalize in here today. So you finally had a pop in your VIX and a pullback in your overall markets, your SPY and your NASDAQ. So the VIX in here is currently trading at 15. That is going to be something that we're going to watch as we continue into this week, especially Wednesday, because we do have VIX expiration. So you can see last week we were trading in that 14 handle for our VIX. When's the last time we've seen a VIX at 14, right? Well, really not until since last year in here in December. So the question was, how much lower can it go? Well, obviously today was not the day for it to go any lower. Nice little pop in here, but in return, we got some good correlation with the markets with the overall pullback in here in our markets. So that is good. SPY, we're currently trading at 772 in here. In after hours, we're going to see what happens in overnight and pre-market tomorrow if things can kind of change and adjust accordingly. But right now, 772 to the upside in here. Obviously, the big number everybody wants and is focused on is 780. That is where basically all your gamma exposure is going to be. It's where all your volume is going to be. That is the main level in here. But are we going to get a big run up in here soon to get above it? It looked like we were. It looked like we were setting up for it early this week and then a pullback, but it looks like everything had to kind of pull back today. And then perhaps maybe as we move on throughout the rest of the week, we can kind of climb back up there. But we're going to see what happens in here in our overall markets to see if we can climb back and get to that 780. That's the big level in here. Intraday, what are we looking at? We're going to be watching that 775. And then outside of there, we're going to be looking at that low 778 area to see if we can get above that and then hold and maybe get a close intraday before we can start working our way up to that 780. To the downside in here, obviously we have to focus on that 760. That's kind of where everything's lingering at in here. You have a resist or a support there. You have the 9-day EMA just kind of hanging out in that area. So 760 is going to be a spot that we're watching. Outside of there, you're looking at 756 and then 738. In this video, though, we are going to be focusing mainly on ticker symbol APP. I know there's a lot of things that we could do in here just because of the interesting action that we had in the overall market. But we're going to look at APP in here. We adjusted our overall structure on our weekly chart in here. So now this trend line is respected, or it's going to be anchored by last week's low in here. So we're going to see if this lower trend line is going to get respected throughout the week in here. That's currently trading at 300. So that's going to be our major support, especially if you're looking at this overall structure. You want to see a nice bounce in here. You have RSI relatively oversold from where it's been in the past, almost half a year in here since the beginning of the year. So that is what we're kind of focusing on here. We're going to see if we can get a nice little bounce in here. Definitely need some volume, definitely need some green volume in here, especially on your options and the overall stock volume as well. So see if we can get a little pop and perhaps head back to those mid 300s. So to the upside in here, obviously, if we get a bounce off that 300, we are going to be looking at nice whole numbers working our way up to that 9-day EMA. So 310, 320, 330, etc. And that's kind of what we're looking at on the way down. Nice whole numbers, right? Anything below 300, 290, 280, working our way down to this 200 SMA in here as well. That's currently trading right now down here, right around that 232. But we kind of want to let the chart dictate where those supports and resistances are. Obviously, we're going to have those nice, big, solid numbers in our head, but also we have to be aware of our overall gamma exposure. We're going to see if there's any UOA, things like that happening. We're going to check our dark pools as well, seeing if there's any sort of support or setups in here that could give us a place where we could hang our hat on as far as nice levels of ceilings or floors in here. Your implied volatility for APP is relatively low compared to itself. 22, obviously that got compressed with our earnings that we had in here. $15 expected move priced in by this Friday, next Friday around 24 bucks. If you go all the way up to your September monthly, right around a $35 expected move being priced into this underlying. So we're going to see what happens in here. It's always good when you're looking at a stock to figure out what is the overall market doing, what is the correlation, where is the volatility. So then you kind of get a better feel of where this sector and then where this stock, or maybe there's another stock that this stock is trading with that you might get a sympathy play off here and there. It's just about having market awareness, right? So that's why we always kind of do those elongated kind of openings to sometimes in these videos, right? So where you're always talking about the VIX, you're always talking about the market, and like, yeah, but it's good to know, and we need to know that as we're trading every single day, because that is going to give us a tip of perhaps where this stock could trade that we're currently focusing on. So it's always good to know that in your overall correlations. We're going to see where APP ends up as we continue on throughout the weekend here. We're going to watch for any major correlations or things like that, and we're going to see where things happen, or kind of what things happen as we continue throughout this earnings cycle. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you are interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.